So this is Deuteronomy chapter 28, part 15. I'm going to finish the chapter in this part, and then I'm going to make a part 16 where I briefly go over Revelation 12 and connect the stars in the sky in verse 62 to Revelation 12:4, where the dragon uses his tail symbolically to sweep the stars out of the sky. Now keep in mind, they've been changing my voice, and they've been filming me, and they've been sending people around me to harass me ever so lightly, and they tend to do things like walk close by and stand around and do things a certain way, and they're using technology to film me. And I'm sure you can understand that someone who is a critical thinker, like I am, is not going to be mistaken about these things, especially when he's asking other people and they're saying you're right, and he has witnesses that saw this stuff go on as well. So it's pretty straightforward. And these witnesses come from different places. One of them's from another country, another one's from another state, some are from other side of the state, some know me growing up, and so on and so forth. So a very diverse group of witnesses with no ulterior motives. Okay, so let's get into this, shall we? So in verse 60, he will bring on you all the diseases of Egypt that you dreaded, and they will cling to you. The Lord will also bring on you every kind of sickness and disaster not recorded in this book of the law, until you are destroyed, you who were as numerous as the stars in the sky. Okay, just as it pleased the Lord to make you prosper and increase in number, so it will please him to ruin and destroy you. You will be uprooted from the land you are entering to possess. Then the Lord will scatter you among all nations from one end of earth to the other. There you will worship other gods, gods of wood and stone, which neither you nor your ancestors have known. Now, a lot of people get this part wrong. I've heard the African Americans bring it up. They're only slightly right. The Hebrew Israelites, they say that this is proof, magically, that, see when they roll this up here, there's like a lot of noise in the background. Okay, so they say that magically this is proof that they're the Israelites, but that's not what it's saying. It's saying that you're going to be mixed into the genome of these nations, okay? Because what happens when you get taken as captives? It says in Isaiah 13, it says in various places in the Bible that they're going to be raped. It says in this very chapter that they're going to be raped and defiled, and their children are going to be dashed to pieces. And there's more than one way. It happens literally. It happens spiritually. It also happens in terms of who breeds with who and why. What are the new patriarchal lines? Because that has to do with patriarchal lines who obeyed God versus the ones that didn't. So it's saying that you're not going to have divine patriarchal lines, and you'll be destroyed, and you'll have no way to connect to God. That is what it's saying. That's also why it says there you will worship gods, gods of wood and stone, which neither you nor your ancestors have known. You haven't known them, right? And some of you have heard the saying, known in the biblical sense, right? You're going to have sex with people whose patriarchal lines are like Zeus and Baal and Apollo and Pan and Hermes and Mercury and these different deities that were demons that people worshipped, right? They didn't work for God, and they were elevated in the minds of fools, so they're false idols. They're satanic patriarchal lines. They're not supposed to be in charge. In fact, the word lead is the word deal scrambled, and deal rhymes with seal. Okay, so lead and seal are connected. Who is leading you? God through the patriarchal line he chose, me, or is it the devil? And we know before Abraham is Christ, and he's referring to Nimrod's patriarchal line in terms of the idea that Nimrod in the story is superimposed on. Okay, that's why they said Jesus had a miraculous birth, because to them, someone who's born as a child of a black man is born miraculously. And we see Isaiah, we see that that's the case. When we look at the argument being made in terms of Jesus' birth very carefully, we see that they're referring to him having a black father. Okay, it has to do with Isaiah when he talks about making love to the priestess in the spirit of God. Okay, and that God says you're going to have certain children. Those children are born miraculously because the Spirit of God is in Isaiah, who's making love to the priestess, and in the story he did it in the presence of someone else to witness the process, which obviously I don't approve of. Okay, this is something that can't be done again. I'm not going to have any kids. If I had any kids out there because they took my DNA, they're not legitimate. Again, if I have any kids because they took my DNA or whatever, they're not legitimate. Clones aren't legitimate. They have to be raised in the Spirit of God by me, right? The sun rises, the sun is raised, okay? And no one else is qualified to do that. Not my parents, not anyone else. Among those nations you will find no repose, no resting place for the sole of your foot. Therefore the Lord will give you an anxious mind, eyes weary with longing, and a despairing heart. You will live in constant suspense, filled with dread both night and day, never sure of your life. In the morning you will say, if only it were evening, and in the evening, if only it were morning, because of the terror that will fill your hearts and the sights that you will see with your eyes. Okay, so at nighttime when they can't see well in terms of spiritual darkness, when they're more blinded by psychology and spiritual darkness, they're going to say, if only they could see straight, because they're terrified. And when they can see straight, they're going to say, well, I prefer how it was before. That's what it's getting at. The Lord will send you back, and there's other applications too. The Lord will send you back in ships to Egypt, spiritually speaking, on a journey I said you should never make again. There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. Now again, do we see the Jews accepting the Messiah? No. Israel is a place that is notorious for being hostile to Christians. Maybe not every person there, but as a nation. So they rejected the Messiah. We see that there's a bunch of Jews who say, I'm a Jew and I'm a Christian. No, there's a small group of Jews who say that. And they're just basically whitewashed, no offense to anybody, and not very serious people. So we know that they didn't obey God and they didn't accept the Messiah. And it's extremely overkill, which is an unnecessary overkill to come to this conclusion that they didn't obey me. So therefore, we must ascertain from the Bible, no offense to anyone, this is not racism, this is just truth, these are the facts, that they fall into the category of curses for disobedience and not in the category of blessings for obedience. Which means that this is just like Revelation predicted, just like Jesus said the end will come. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven will be taken away from you. In Galatians 3:28, there's no Jew or Gentile. Amos 9:7, are you not the same as the Cushites? So God, through me, okay, is sealing the world in hell. And when my flesh dies, it is done. The gate is sealed. No one else is a valid king. No one else has a heart of hearts. No one else is loyal to God. No one else has the wisdom or the reason or the logic to say that they're a king ever again. The logic does not exist. That is the argument being made in the Bible, and it's also being made in Deuteronomy and Isaiah and Hosea and Amos and Obadiah and Joel, okay, and Zechariah and Zephaniah, and on and on and on and on and on. Okay, Moses himself, okay, that's how it works. Okay, this is the end. When my flesh dies, there will be no connecting to God, and I suggest you all stop praying because your prayers are detestable. Okay, and on top of that, you have no viable counter-argument. There are no preachers, especially not any famous preachers, come and say, you're wrong about that, brother, because of this, this, and this. They've been silent because they have nothing, nada, zip, zelch, nothing. Their spirits have been silenced, like David beating Goliath, Baal, Hamana, Baal of the horde being conquered. Zeus conquered. All the churches conquered. Mosques and synagogues, no offense, but conquered. They have no viable counter-argument. Are they going to say that a brain surgeon's son and a top martial artist making these damning and logical arguments isn't to be taken seriously? Let's all pretend he's crazy? That is the acts of a fucking coward, not someone who has sense presenting a viable counter-argument. Thank you.